No, that don't remind me that. It's just crazy. She's lovely, but she start getting these. Oh, I don't like this, and then like, oh my god, I don't know. I don't know how to handle this. But yeah, I mean, she's a really really beautiful person. So I actually fighting against that because she's so nice, so lady, so beautiful that some ways I'm aware of. I need to put a little bit of understanding of how life is, right? But I mean, it's
Yeah.
amazing. I mean, it's I haven't heard, but I agree with you. I have one. That's it. I'm done, right? I love kids. I would love every time that I have a kid around, a baby. I just love to carry and everything. But on me, one is okay. It's more than
No, but
enough.
I believe that the kids give you like another approach to yourself. Like it gets you to go to it suits you a little bit as a person. And I believe it's an interesting thing because you become like more human. I don't know, like you become like more cautious about others. Uh, that's what I'm experiencing. But yeah, my baby's only 5 months, so
Oh
I
wow.
cannot I cannot talk too much about it because I'm a newbie. But yeah,
Best.
yeah,
It's the
And
best.
yeah,
Especially the
I know,
smile.
Argel.
You get the smile after 6 weeks. It's just the first smile. It changes everything. Sorry.
yeah, yeah, man. That's true. That's true. That's amazing. Hey, so as we have a lot of topics to share on this roundtable, I would suggest uh, if we start, there's gonna be the recording, and as people join, yeah, they would jump on and we just for whenever we have been going through, if that's okay.
Yeah, let's do it.
That's it.
Okay, that's cool. So, okay, guys, my name is Giovanni. I'm the host for today of Startup Grind. For those who don't know, Startup Grind is a community of startups that hosts hundreds of events globally in many of the cities. So there's Startup Grind in Mexico. There's Startup Grind in Israel. There's a Startup Grind as well, and we have host speakers like in events like this from Sequoia, Anderson Horowitz, DigitalOcean, and many more. So it's very exciting that we are having you guys on this one because the topic is also very I I find it very fascinating personally because it talks about Flutter, which is a trending frame, I would say a framework for mobile applications that is growing a lot, and also fintech, uh, which has been growing. It's already has been growing for a couple of years, but it's still evolving, and it's very passionate. This topic, and for this, we have been able to have an amazing group to discuss this. So I'm happy to have you, Mauricio, Argel, and Hillel. Yeah, I believe this is going to be an amazing roundtable, very exciting. So looking forward to other topics that we are going to be going through. Before making the introductions of everyone, I want to introduce firstly Mauricio because he's a CEO of Somnio Software, our partner for this event. So Mauricio, if you can introduce yourself, let us know about a little bit about Somnio, what is it up to, and yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, sure. So thank you, Giovanni. Thank you for co-hosting this with us. And we know Giovanni for a while, for a few years, and we always had great conversations. So it's great to finally do something together.
Yeah.
This is like Startup Grind and Somnia Software. So as Giovanni said, I'm the CEO and co-founder of Somnia Software. For the guys that don't know Somnia, we are a dev shop. So we create end-to-end applications. So applications that are from scratch, since our clients have the idea, and we receive like people that only have like only a few ideas in mind and they want to build a digital solution. We try to them to try to help them during the whole discovery session with different UX UI designers and the developers, and then we deploy the apps and we maintain it for them. And the thing that we have is that we are fully focused on Flutter, so that's why we wanted to create this session with all the rest of the guys, because we believe that Flutter is growing a lot. It's a great technology, and fintech is an industry that has been growing a lot with Flutter. So I think that the conversations that we will have today are going to be really interesting, because we believe, and I believe, that fintech and Flutter has a really good connection. So the guys also Argel and Hillel, they will be sharing their experiences, like working every day with the technology and the industry. So yeah, a little about me. I am a software developer and a software engineer as well. But nowadays I'm more in the direction, so I'm not that technical. I used to be like a lot and used to develop a lot of Flutter, but nowadays I'm more in charge of working with others and knows much more than me. So yeah, it's a pleasure to be here with you guys and tell about our experience in Somnio and in Flutter and fintech, and hear about Argel and Hillel as well. So nice
Awesome,
to have you here.
awesome, Mauricio, and thanks for sharing. And yeah, and also the following speakers are also very amazing to hear. As Mauricio was sharing about his story, Argel and Hillel also have an amazing story. So who wants to go first, guys?
Argel, you're welcome to if you'd like me to. So I guess I'll go.
Right, man.
Thanks for having me. Nice to be here. My name is Coren. Also a developer. I'm the co-founder of Invoice Ninja. Give you a quick pitch of Invoice Ninja. We founded the company's founded about 10 years ago, and we provide online invoicing. And the one thing I think that makes us unique is that we provide a hosted and self-hosted model. It's kind of like WordPress. So you can either use our hosted app or you take the code and self-host it and run it on your own server. And that's about it. And then we switched, we started with a web app about 10 years ago, and initially had native apps, and eventually about 5 years ago started with Flutter. We've had great results. It's just amazing. So hopefully throughout the call, we'll go into more detail, talk about some of our experiences. Thanks again for being here.
Amazing, Hillel. Thanks for sharing. Argel, your turn then.
Yeah, yeah. Again, also thank you for having me. Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna say I'm really appreciate the time to having shared with amazing people, Mauricio, Hillel, and you, Giovanni. It is just, I don't know. I have been a Google developer for a few years, but I think the biggest challenge of the one that I love the most is the work with the community. And going this is taking me to amazing places, and not only work related, right? I mean, I'm working on Nubank, one of the biggest fintechs, and actually in the outside Asia, I think is the biggest one. But it also be working with Flutter and talking with the people and speaking and being a speaker had taken me to amazing places that I never thought it was possible for me, like being in Africa. It was just crazy, right? So again, thank you for having me. Looking forward to have this conversation.
That's amazing, Argel. And yeah, looking forward to know more about your experience and in Flutter and also in Nubank. So thanks for sharing, Argel. So just to get us started with the topic of today about Flutter, potentially many people are not too sure about what is Flutter. Um, so how about Mauricio, if you can share us a little bit about why is Flutter and why is getting so much popularity?
Great. Yeah, that's a great question, because we receive it and I receive it every day, basically. And because during my work, I work like a lot with different people and organizations that they want to create an application. They want to create something, a digital solution. Like they want to create a mobile or a web app, but they don't know which are the different technologies. So what is Flutter is a really good it's a good question that normally they ask us a lot, because Flutter is we for people that doesn't know about so much about technology, we would say that it's a tool for creating apps for mobile, web, and desktop and embedded devices. But the thing that it has is a cross-platform technology. So it means that with just one source code, you can create an app for all the different platforms at the same time. So basically, if you're an organization that wants to create something like a solution for your business, for example, on Android or web or whatever, you have to hire a team for Android, then hire another team for iOS, another for web. So you can imagine that all the costs there are pretty high, and also the time to market is pretty high as well. So that's why Flutter is a framework that it was created by Google and maintained by the community and all of the guys here and the rest. So we have been working with these cross-platform technologies to allow organizations to create apps faster with great UI, responsive, great performance. So that's basically what it is, Flutter. In the past, there used to be other technologies that were more native and other cross-platform, but Flutter is gaining really much popularity because of some of the features that it has, as I mentioned, the performance. It compiles to native, so that's kind of a big thing. You can feel like the apps are very smooth, so that's a thing that makes Flutter stand-ups a lot. So when I was working with Flutter, when I started working with Flutter and comparing with others, I was amazed, and it blew my mind the performance that it had, and the easy development that it has. So that's something that blew my mind that moment. So that's why we created Somnio as well, to be focused on this great technology. So just to wrap up, is kind of a tool to help you to create apps for mobile, web, and desktop faster than others, right?
That sounds great, Mauricio. And thanks for sharing. Argel, Hillel, do you want to add something uh, about what is Flutter?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to brag, but I try to keep it short, because if not, we can stand this conversation only talking about that. But I think one of the biggest places with Flutter stand up, besides what Mauricio mentioned, was you can have the same experience in both operating systems. It's usually in the past in any other or most of the other frameworks or natives, so the development, you have like one experience in iOS and one experience in Android, and it's just we have web, we have, well, right, but just in devices, the experience that you can have was always different. It says, we can notice right now, sometimes you are looking for something in one app, like let's put WhatsApp, and one feature exists in iOS and another feature exists in Android, and they're in a different place. So this kind of being having a shared experience where you can place everything in the same place, and if you move between OS to Android or iOS, you are keeping the same experience for the clients. It's actually something that stands out, at least for me. Again, I just gonna share something, and just for because I add value. When you have a business and you want to provide the same experience to your clients, it can be hard if you are not using these kind of frameworks that can provide you the same experience in both operating systems. Just to mention something, but I would like Hillel probably want to add something else, so I will give the mic to him.
So there's a great explanations. I agree entirely. I guess the one thing I would add is the way I think about it is similar to a game engine. Whereas if you're building a game for mobile, you typically aren't going to use native tools. You're going to use a game engine like Unity, Unreal. It'll compile natively to an app for Android or for iOS. On each game, when you're playing it, it'll look exactly the same. The form fields will look like the game form fields, not like the iOS or the native form fields, because the game engine is painting every pixel on the screen. And so Flutter, in my mind, is very similar, except rather than being a game engine, it's an app engine. So it's an app engine in that it gives you just what you need to build apps. And I think in particular, business apps. And that's why I think we're all here. I think fintech is a great example of classic business apps. So you end up with, as Arel was saying, an app that's identical across both platforms. And it's because Flutter is handling all of it. It's handling the input, the UI, and all the layers. And that's what makes so I think such a rapid, relevant platform. You have one code base that's identical across all platforms.
Yeah, that's amazing. The comparison you made with gaming, because it makes total sense. Hillel, it makes total sense, that comparison, and it's the first time I hear about it. So it's very good. Thanks for sharing. And
I think we lost Giovanni. Yeah. or our explanations blew his mind maybe.
Yeah, we broke Giovanni. Um, yeah, not sure if someone uh, on the backstage that can help us out.
All right. I think we should probably keep going. Just keep the call
Yeah,
going.
let's keep it going. So, while Giovanni is back, not sure you want to take the lead, Mauricio. You're a host here, so
Yeah, I'm the co-host, so that's my role here as well. So yeah, guys. So when we were chatting about different like topics to discuss about Flutter, because Flutter is a technology that we all love and we have been working with it for a while. And we thought about different industries, right? So we were like trying of deciding what we could talk about. I mean, how we could relate Flutter with other industries. So we started to study a little more to understand a little more like different industries and see and review our experience in different industries. So the first thing that comes up is like Flutter is a lot in fintech industry, right? So a lot of fintech organizations are using Flutter. So one of our questions and one of the reasons why we choose this topic is why is Flutter a good tech for fintech? How it relates with other technologies, like why you choose Flutter when you are building a fintech app. So that's one of the big questions that we had. I don't know if Hillel, you want to take the lead there for starting that answer.
Sure, happy to. So I think it connects to what I was saying earlier about Flutter just being an app engine. And ideally, it gives you exactly what you need out of the box to build business apps. Whereas a game engine is going to give you physics and give you collision and give you sprites. Flutter gives you great data tables, great forms, great validation. And what it provides works everywhere, cross-platform, and not just mobile, but desktop and web as well. I think looking at alternative choices, I think a progressive web app would be a very reasonable choice. That gives you all platforms as well. And then potentially you could wrap it in some sort of mobile wrapper to get a pseudo-native app. But I think comparatively, the feeling when you use a Flutter app compared to progressive web app often is different. Very often when you use a Flutter app, it feels very native, has that native feel. Where as good as what a progressive web app is designed, oftentimes it can feel a bit different. It can have that kind of off feeling, which typically Flutter doesn't have. I find when I'm using an app and I build Flutter apps all day, I often can't tell if an app's Flutter or not. In the past, one trick worth sharing is if you use more than one finger to scroll. In the past, in a Flutter app, for every finger you add, it adds to the scroll speed. So that'd be a trick to tell if it's a Flutter app. But even that, I think the latest release has been changed and is no longer even the default behavior. So I think there are other options always. There are many choices, but from our experience personally, we found Flutter to provide just a great solution that makes users happy. Right? At the end of the day, no one ever talks to us and thanks us for using a cross-platform solution. I'm happy it's cross-platform. I'm writing this code. Our customers don't care, right? As much as I am bragging and showing off, excited about it, they just want an app that works well, feels native, feels comparable to other apps in the marketplace, and Flutter provides that. So it's a great solution.
yeah, I did a little bit into what Hillel mentioned, and actually, I think you mentioned something about this, Mauri. Is the time to market. Let's put it is just we remove two teams because communication between teams is sometimes harder. Right now, something can be done in native in iOS, something cannot be done. This experience, this feedback needs to be provided that doesn't exist in the other operating systems. All of these uncertainties are going to be removed. You will have one set of uncertainties, but only one set, right? You don't have to be thinking ahead of what else this and there and whatever other environment that you are thinking of. So when you remove that, is one line of communication with your designers, with your other stakeholders, right? When you are working in this way, it provides you a time to reduce an opportunity to reduce that time to market, right? Because now you are focusing your product and you can create tools. We can talk about this later in the conversation, but you can create tools that increase this decrease the time to deliver something. And obviously, as any company, if I decrease the time, I can not short the costs. I can use the same money to build more things, and also that adds a lot of value, right? And that's why in talking about fintech, you need to have a new product line. Talking about fintech, like let's say lending, you have something about investments, maybe I don't know, blockchain or whatever you are taking into the tasks, you can add more in less time, and it's money well spent. That's what it is, right? Money they can use in that.
Yeah, yeah, that's amazing, Argel, and Hillel also. And I'm back. My internet was kind of failing. I don't know if hopefully is okay right now. But yeah, the next topic that we were gonna share about was about the popularity of Flutter. Uh, I know that you guys have already shared a lot of what makes Flutter a really good framework. But what can you share us about the community growth behind Flutter? How's that? Because that's very important in the programming space. If you can share us about the community and also about the market growth in general.
I think I can start that, and about mainly because of the community. I think I'm really community driven. That's why it was amazing for me when I joined this community. This community is always tied together. It's really respectful. You have a problem, there is a lot of people helping you, or at least giving you some notions of what it could be happening. And it's not the usual. You might think it is really is something regular, but it's not. And not only when you have a problem, right? There is people that just because they have the knowledge, the time, and sometimes because they are boring or just want to have something to done, you can look at the change log of every release. As Hillel mentioned, we had been released I think it's 3.9 something. I don't remember the exact name, but it has a lot of this is change log, right? And when you look at the change log, I don't know, a big amount of books that it was sold are sold by the community, and they are not getting paid, they are not getting anything. It's just because they love the tool, they want to continue make it better, bigger, stable for their own usage. So it's a proactive community. That's, I think, in not only proactive, it's also respectful, right? It's there are I have been in other communities, I won't mention any, just gonna say I've been in other communities. It's not that easy to find a place where you can freely speak and being heard and help and whatever, right? It's That's why I want to take that topic, and I noticed Mauricio uh, open the mic, so we're gonna take the another topic, man. Take it.
We all really want to answer why it's that popular and why it has been growing a lot. But yeah, I think that the first thing is what Argel said, the community, and I think that I want to highlight the same and start with the same reason, right? Because I had the same experience as Argel. I know that Argel has been there for really a long time, so he has seen all the different like how the community has been growing, and that's something that also I think that when Google created Flutter at the beginning and they put it open source so the community can help, you can see that everyone in the Flutter team is really nice. So that's something that they created since the beginning. And I think that is a culture that you create around that technology that at the end of the day helps everyone to help growing, to help like resolving bugs as our health mentioned, and like keeping and adding more features and going to conference, learn Flutter. I think that that community creates a culture, and I was amazed because I in the past I used to work with other technologies as well, and going from conference to conference. But you can see that the Flutter conference and the Flutter community is like really special, and they want to preserve it like that because you can see all the Flutter team members being really nice to you, always hearing, and they are like trying to promote that to the rest of the team. So I think that community, I wanted to say the same as Argel. And also I think that the values that Flutter has are the ones that also are like allowing Flutter to grow. I mean, it's a technology that when you compare with others, it's really simple to the user experience, development experience is really good, and the products that creates, that compiles are amazing. So I think that all of those kind of things helps to motivate all of us to keep using Flutter. And also the documentation that Flutter has is really good. You can see videos and documentation and content that Flutter team is always like posting, and the Flutter community is always writing as well. That helps a lot to new developers to start this journey on Flutter. And I think that all developers, like all the Flutter developers that I know, and I start to talk to them, like they answer the same, that they love Flutter, and they can't use other technology. I mean, they can, but they if they can keep using Flutter, they would keep using it, because it's something that developing in Flutter is kind of a nice experience, right? So I think it's a combination of multiple things, and I could keep talking about other reasons, but I think those ones are one of the main ones. Yes.
Yeah, that sounds so welcoming. I bet that other developers that haven't get into Flutter, I believe that see these roundtable, I believe they would really like to get involved with Flutter to get to know more about what the community is offering. Uh, because yeah, it sounds very welcoming what you're sharing, Mauricio, and also Argel. Um, but that brings us like with Hillel, you were mentioning earlier about when you were expressing about or sharing about the benefits of Flutter, like the rapid development, consistent UI, cost effective. I was wondering if you can describe us a little bit more about one of these topics into the fintech space.
Sure, pleasure. So I also want to highlight how much I agree. The Flutter community is truly amazing. With 3 for 3 on that, there's no question. It's very special, especially I think we've also been developing for a while. I think sadly many coding environments or coding communities aren't as positive. Well, I think come from bad experiences. You appreciate it even that much more. That everyone's extremely respectful and helpful and amazing. And also what Maury said about enjoying it. Flutter is just nice to use. I think that's key. I think Flutter is fun, right? And when you're a developer and you're having fun, it just makes you more productive. And there's this virtuous cycle that the more productive you are, the more fun you're having. And there's this loop you get on, and it's just amazing. Also talking about cross-platform and rapid development, I think the key there, and Argel touched on it, is the idea that first off, you need 2 apps that are identical, which is such a greater challenge than simply building an app twice. Especially if you have 2 different teams building it. The synchronization that's needed to make them exactly the same is really a nightmare. It's very, very, very challenging. The bugs, right? You fix a bug on one platform, it's a different bug on the other platform. And at the end of the day, you end up spinning a lot of wheels, losing a lot of time, just fixing things that could be fixed once with Flutter. Right? I love it. With Flutter, you get a bug on one platform, it's fixed across all platforms. I feel that's just critical. I think Invoice Ninja is a great example of rapid development. And that where we struggle, and I believe in general, is that all technologies can be used to build great apps. Whatever you're building, it can work. To me, the equation, the factor is developer resources. That's where we're limited, right? We're a tiny team. We have 3 people, 2 developers. And so the question is, how many developer hours can we provide or allocate to building an app? We started with native apps, right? Native technology can build the best apps possible, but with just few developers working on it. It was one developer building 2 native code bases, 2 native apps, just didn't work. And by switching to Flutter, having a single developer build both apps, or now it's become 5 apps, you end up just with a much better product. Because rather than spending time fixing bugs for different platforms, you can spend your time refining the app and building an amazing experience, something that users love to use. So obviously big fans of Flutter, but this is 5 years in, we've had a long track record and have seen the results.
Yeah, that makes total sense, Hillel. That makes total sense. And at Hell, like I'm curious, like on your side with Nubank, what type of what experience can you share us about the benefits of Flutter, uh, working with in a fintech company as Nubank?
Yeah, so even I mean I can share some thoughts, but also if there is an open document, I thought I have it in here, but I can share it with you later. It's a document where all of these trade-offs, right? Should we continue? There was something from 2018. It was before I joined, 2018 or 19. They started thinking of should we move to native to other cross-platform, right? So we had React Native, and they say, well, there is something in there called Flutter. What if we take a look into that, right? So they are make a whole document. There is a lot of trade-offs between the 3: native, React Native, or Flutter. And after an extensive documentation and review, they decide because of like even community that we speak a few minutes before. A community has a big impact, right? Because community was big. So if you have an issue, it was a better a way a faster way to find a solution that in another kind of situation like another frameworks, right? But I mean, I think if I had to think in fintech, and what's really relevant is the branding, as in many companies, right? When you are developing, when you are working in something, you want to create something that everyone looks and knows what you are looking. It's like if you look this green stuff, or oh, that's WhatsApp. You look this kind of pink, or all this Instagram, right? You this blue, you think of. So that's what we are thinking is how can we create an impact. And when you are looking an app, and this is quite difficult when you are talking in a company like Nubank, because it's not only in one place. It's a company that is in three different countries, and this can create a different perception, and you need to um, build everything in a way that it needs to make sense as a whole, but also in a localization way. So sometimes the way you manage internationalization and localization and accessibility, and that's why you need to be working in a consistent way. You need to have and manage some kind of design system where it can provide you a consistent UI, and also give you enough flexibility to being able to move between countries. And in each country, even though they are not in the same, and if we are the, like, let's say it's a Colombian visiting Brazil, someone opens the app, they will say, okay, that doesn't look exactly like my app, but it's actually my app, right? So the new back app, and this is kind of the challenges in something that is allows you, and everything is because of you are providing this consistent UI, but with enough flexibility to your teams to provide these different um, experiences for your product. So it's kind of a heavy topic, but it's really fun, right? As Hillel mentioned it. So you have a lot of fun when you are talking and dealing with all of these situations. So the way you build something is always needs to be thinking ahead of when you're building a product, and Mauri should work in this like every day. You are not gonna be dealing with this, oh, which problem I have right now, right? Is okay, this month and next month I don't have problems. My problems are in a year. What I should be thinking in a year from now. And that's kind of the fun of thinking, should I do this? Is gonna be tech debt or not? Should we be consistent in this way? Should be my UI being responsive in that way so I can deliver? And it's when everything needs to be all together, and the flexibility and the rapid development again that we talk is something that I think we stopped using it because it's so in our daily basis. The hot reload in Flutter is amazing, right? It gives you a lot of opportunity to do these changes and don't have to run again the app or everything, and it adds value so you can try more and you can have fun, and you can look, oh, if I do this it changes that, and then this, and it gives you all these consistencies, and you can try more in the same time of doing once in another framework. You can do it several tries in Flutter and provide you more knowledge of the product or what you are building, right?
Yes, that's super interesting. And also, while you were speaking, Argel, also I find it very cool as Hillel was sharing his point of view from a product co-founder position. You're sharing it about from a perspective as yeah from Nubank, and now we are able to have like the other perspective as Mauricio from an agency stand of point. So it's very cool to have to being able to here to have those all of the three perspectives that I believe are the ones that are in the market. So yeah, that's very cool. Mauricio, if you can share us about yours in Somnio.
Yeah, that's a really good topic because it's kind of something that regarding to fintech, because I mean we receive people and organizations from different industries, and we have like different types of partners and clients that sometimes they are technical, sometimes they are non-technical. So it really depends the pitch that we give to them, like depending on what they know and what they want to achieve, right? So for us, Flutter, it was always been a tool for that facilitates our pitch to when we are talking to organizations. So basically, in our case, when you receive people that doesn't know about the technology, or they want just to build an app, we always, besides, I mean, we work with Flutter, and that's the tool that we use 100%. But we always do the software architecture, because I believe that when you are creating something, you have to do the architecture of the software, right? So when you are doing the architecture, you have to see the non-functional requirements that are the ones that really drives you and so on selecting like the right tool for the right uh, business needs, right? So that's more than Flutter, and front end is like also back end infrastructure and everything. So I believe that in fintech you have something that for us it's pretty simple to sell in a way that Flutter is a really good technology for the fintech. Because if you think about it, what's the most and the biggest like non-functional requirement that fintech organization needs? Is security. One of them is security, right? So security is something that is really important, and it's a topic that we could discuss a lot. But security is something that normally when you have different platforms, you have to comply with different things. You have to make sure that the front end, also the back end, and mostly the back end as well, right? But the front end has to have like some of different like checks that your front end needs to be implemented. So imagine if you have to do like for your Android, then do the same checks for iOS, the same check for web. So it's kind of a matter of like one of the tactics on security is not repeating and like trying to block access, or trying to like not adding more than you need to do. So fintech apps and Flutter is like you can do it with Flutter just once, and you don't have to comply with all of different things, and be sure that all of the different platforms are in a good level of security. So that's why we believe that in general, like fintech is really good with Flutter. And I think that there are a lot of organizations like Nubank, like Invoice Ninja, and many others that when they are doing the architecture, they feel and they see that not repeating themselves in different platforms is the way to go. That is different from other industries, right? I don't know, like if you would have something like social media or something that you would, as an software architecture, you would try to put more focus on other non-functional requirements, like I don't know, like if you want to reuse the same developers, if you want to use not, if you want to like get non-functional requirements other than security, it would make more sense to have maybe or connect with other technologies as well. But fintech has that security layer that the less platforms we have to be sure that they are secure, the better. So from our perspective, whenever we receive organizations that wants to create apps in the fintech industry, for them it's pretty easy to say, okay, yeah, let's put more focus on other things and not reuse, because at the end of the day, fintech apps, they need some, it's not about the user experience or having the best performance in the world, or having or being able to use IoT devices and hardware. It's a matter of solving people needs and problems. So that's kind of let's pivot really fast, and let's do change things faster, so you don't have to invest a lot of time on like creating platforms over and over again. Let's focus on solving the problem with the right security and not compromising our products. So right. So I think that from our perspective, when we talk with different organizations, that's what we feel, that they really understand the need of not investing time in things that doesn't matter, on creating the same layouts, the same algorithms. Let's build it once and focus on business need and how to solve the problems that we have. So for those organizations, it's much better, and it's pretty easy for them to decide on which technology to use, and in that sense, Flutter, right?
Yeah, and thanks for, yeah, I totally agree, Mauricio, and also thanks for bringing, for sharing about the security, because that was kind of our next topic. because yeah, fintech and security, they all go hand in hand, uh, because of all the information that it involves, right? So curious to know that, yeah, like that approach, Hillel, on your end, uh, like working on the product and security. How has that experience been for you since you started with Flutter?
Sure. So for me personally, it's been amazing because before I started Flutter, I was a back-end web developer. And I found from a security perspective, that was a nightmare. It was impossible. It was so hard. So supporting a fintech application with a SaaS service that's online 24/7, spammers, hackers, all kinds of database problems. It was just a nightmare, really painful and stressful, really hard, difficult, I think, emotionally. I think a lot of people have realized the emotional stress I think developers are exposed to dealing with these kind of issues, especially outages. So when I started with Flutter, I got to switch from the back end to the front end. And that was just amazing. I felt like a breath of fresh air, a weight off my shoulders, because I found security in the front end so much simpler than on the back end. That's it. There still are implications on the front end. I would say the key points: make sure you realize, no API keys in the code. Everything is obscurity, was it security through obscurity? Essentially, if it's in the app, users can decompile the app and break out any API keys. So that's obviously critical. And then again, front and back end communication, HTTPS is essential. That's 99% of the channels to make sure you have secure communication to the front end and the back end. One of the point I'll mention I find really helpful is on device itself. For example, we like to use Touch ID or Face ID if it's available, or fingerprint. Whereas if you're building native, you'd have to deal with separate APIs. I think it's the local auth package on PubDev. And it took 20 minutes probably, install the package, a few lines of code, and that level of abstraction. We're just saying, hey, secure the app. And this was the added features that when you launch the app, the user has to enter some sort of security mechanism, be it a fingerprint or Face ID. And thanks to Flutter being cross-platform, and thanks to packages abstracting the specifics of the native APIs, again, 20 minutes, and had an amazing feature working to increase the app security. So I think, as Argel was saying, the less code you're writing, the easier it is to build an app. It also is the easier it is to build a secure app. And that's fundamentally, the most important thing when you build in terms of fintech, as Mauricio was saying. So Flutter, I think, out of the box just enables that by its very nature.
Yeah, that sounds great, Hillel. Yeah, because it must be managing two applications very different one from each other, must be very difficult. Yeah, and I believe Flutter kind of like solve this. But also curious to know about in Nubank, like how much Nubank does it gets involved like with the security, because I believe it has to be very very important.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. And it not only because, I mean, as a company, it's really important to have your information safe, and the information of your clients, obviously. It also, there are some requirements, right? The governments, they have their own definition of what needs to be done and how it needs to be done, and they have a big list. And in Mexico, they have a requirements for the institutions that tell you need to take care of the information. And like in extreme cases, like, oh, if tomorrow something happens in the war, in the world, and it's in, how will you save the information on your client? Like, dude, that's apocalyptic stuff. I don't know, right? So you need to be thinking in these kind of things, because they are being asked by the institutions. But I mean, as Hillel mentioned, there is a lot of things that are being done on the back end, right? For us on the app, we obviously we have like, we enable some stuff. Oh, you have the app open, it's been inactive for a defined, you can define amount of time. Okay, it will be blocked. The account needs to be blocked. If you forgot and you leave your phone, whatever, and you have the app enabled, after 5 minutes, the session will be closed, because I don't know what's going on. And this is a way I can assure you, even if you forgot your phone because you're going, I don't know, to ask for a coffee, right? And when you get back, your app will be closed, because we need to take care. No one is taking care of that. Obviously, there are other methods, and because we are a fintech, and one of the definitions of the things that we have being a fintech is that we don't have uh, like any other kind of bank institutions or buildings with our name in there. They are not part of the work, right? So we don't have banks around, whatever, it's everything is virtual. So we need to be really cautious in the way we, when you are trying to open, and I mean, you can ask if you have friends in any of this of the countries that we have Nubank, you can ask where's the process, right? And they tell you, oh, you need to take pictures, you need to take live videos, you need to take selfies, you need to show your ID, and all these uses data, uses the best of the analysis, and to address when it's a fraudster, so someone trying to commit fraud with your account. So we have things in place so they can analyze your rhythm. And so there's a big work that is done only for data protection, secure communication. So it's something that we definitely have. I cannot speak deeply first because I don't know, right? We have an amazing team that is all this, their only work is be sure that your information is not compromised to any other. And this is talking about information, and that about talking about the app. And also we need to be really careful the way we manage like new releases and the information that's being saved before we switch the we flip the switch and everything enables, because that it had happened in the past. I think it's the documents elsewhere somewhere that says someone was stealing because someone sniffed the communication, and because it was sent as a string, just the information, people were able to understand what's going on. It was the next release, right? So for because of that, we add another layer of abstraction and encryption, so we can just in exchange keys, and everything is solved in another place, not directly. So again, it's something that definitely, as a company, not only in a fintech, but in any place, when you have information for your clients, you need to be really careful the way you manage this. And right now, I mean, this is the AI boom, and as every company, it's something that needs to be explored. It's not that easy. Just, oh, we're gonna add AI, right? It's not that easy, but it could add a lot of value in many phases of the app, and I think security is one of them.